Okay, hi. I'm going to show you guys how to utilize this thing called cPanel, which is that site I gave you guys a logon and password to. So if you go to that link, it brings up cPanel, and if you go ahead and type in the logon and password that gave you, and go ahead and click login, and then it takes us into this thing called cPanel. Now, right here it's got files. This file manager is what we are going to be utilizing for the actual web page itself. But for the database, we're going to be using this thing down here called phpMyAdmin, which is just like what the instructor gave us for the GSW site. So if you click on that, it will come up and it will basically, I've already got our database set up over here. And if I click on this plus sign over here, you can see that I've got 3 tables in there. Okay, so here's the genre table, and I've already got it loaded with a lot of data. If you need to execute any SQL on this table, you can click up here on SQL and actually type in your SQL code, and then you would click the Go button right over here. And same thing with rate. I click on rate, and it brings up the browse. Now, if we needed to work on the structure, maybe we needed to add a field for this particular table, we can click on structure, and it's going to show that I've got rate set as a varchar size 2 characters. Rating is set up as a varchar as 4 characters because we don't need to go over PG-13. So PG-13 has 4 characters. I could have went with 1 character for the varchar, but I always like to go with 2 just in case we go over 10, because I'm going 01, 02, 03, 04, and if for some reason we had to go over 10, I didn't want to have to rewrite the table and kind of resync everything up. So, and same thing with genre. If I click on the genre table and I click on structure, I went ahead and gave it a varchar of 2, 01 through 99 basically. And then I called this other field called genre type, and I went ahead and gave it 40 because as you can see when we click browse, it's got things like action, adventure, magical realism. So again, I gave you a link to the wiki page that I got all these from. There's actually 21 different genres that we have available to us for this particular. Now again, we're going to be creating more, just like that ER chart that I gave you. There's a lot more tables we can basically bring in as well. So if you go to movies and I click on, again, it's empty. I don't have any movies in there, and I do have a database. I can download a lot of the different data from those movies. I get a unlimited number of movies basically. If I click on structure again, I've just got the title, the rate, genre, and I've got 1 time that's set up as an integer. And again, that's just going to be the total number of minutes the movie runs. And again, whatever fields we come up with, we can do that. Now, if I click over here, now, if I need to go up to the database to see the actual database and all of the tables, I can click up here where it says database, and it's got the name of our database. There's the actual tables, and if I needed to create a new table, I can actually click and type a new name right here. How many columns I want. When I click go, it'll automatically create that table, and then we can go in. And I'll just do that right now. So I'm going to call this new table. We've got 4 columns. I'm going to click go. And it basically brings up the fields. Now it says, what do you want to name these fields and what is the data type? And if I click on the drop down for the data type, there is a lot of different data fields that we have available to us. If we do things like varchar, I don't know what else. We can set the length, and we can set whether it is a primary key or it needs to be indexed. Now, all primary keys will mark as primary. Any foreign keys, we have to mark those as index. When you mark that as index, now we can actually relate those 2 guys together. So I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to click browse, and yeah. I'll click save. And then I'll come back over here and I'll click on that guy and I'm going to say drop that table. Boom. And I'll say yes. And that table's now gone. Okay. So now if I click on this table and I come over here to designer, I have these guys. Whoop, there they are. So I've got these tables already here. I've already got them related. So here is a one-to-many relationship. So here's our primary key, here's our foreign key. I'm going to save this page. And I'll call this So I've got this page saved. So now we basically have these tables related. And as we add more tables, we can come back in here and I would click on this create relationship. And when you do that, it says click on the primary key. Then it says click on the foreign key. And then it will go ahead and create the line between the different fields there. So that's the database. If I go back over here to the main, and if you're familiar with web design, I'm going to click here on the file manager. And we're going to be working out of this thing called the public HTML. So if I double click on that, it opens it up and here's our index file. And if I do a right click, so you do a right click on it and I click edit, don't need that anymore. It will actually bring up the HTML for this web page, the index.html, and that's where I have the welcome and all four of your names. Okay, and I will click save, and I will click close. That closes that, and we're back to there. So if we needed to create a folder, I can actually come over here and let's see, I can create a folder right here. I can create a new file over here. And we can basically go on from there. I will probably rename this as a PHP file so that we can add our codes, so that we can then I'll have some setting fields in there for us to basically connect to the database, and then we can do our different queries. We'll build different screens that allow our user to go ahead and basically do some kind of a search or some kind of a query, that type of thing. Maybe they want to look for a movie that starts with the letter B. They'll be able to type in a B, and then we'll basically build a query from that particular screen. So that's basically it in a nutshell. When you start here at the main screen, you can come down here to the PHP My Admin. We can edit the web files right here and go from there. If you have any questions, make sure you ping me. Ping me by email is probably the best way to do it. If I see my Skype flashing, I usually go over there and check that as well. So again, if you have any questions, make sure you basically ping me. Be happy to help you guys. I look forward to this.